Have you ever felt a victim of racism? Do you remember how you felt or what happened? Systematic racism is an issue today in America. In an ECC database article, The Overdue Awakening, Ending Centuries of Racism Requires Systematic Change by George Moreland, a respected journalist from Time magazine. Systematic discrimination has become a matter of life or death because police brutality has led to the lives lost of hundreds of African Americans each year. On June 1st, a video came out of the murder of George Floyd, who was suffocated to death under the knee of a Minneapolis police officer. Years of policies that are deemed racist and leave African Americans emotionally, physically, and mentally scarred has led to the outrage of many people. This is because people have seen so many videos out there. This is not the first video that has been out there, but this is the time when people have been unemployed and have said, you know what, enough is enough. ECC database article, The New Housing Segregation, Jim Crow Effects of Crime-Free Housing Ordinances by Deborah N. Archer, a recognized civil rights and racial justice expert, writes, America is profoundly segregated. Exclusionary zoning laws are an example of effectively erecting fences that exclude people of color from the community. Local laws are put in place, for example, gentrification. The reason why there is not a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods or a high-end store in low-income areas, quote unquote, the ghetto. Another ECC database article, COVID-19 among African Americans, from preliminary epidemiological surveillance data to the public health action, by Professor Stephen S. Coughlin, who has a PhD in epidemiology, writes, several states and large cities indicated that African Americans were at an increased rate of dying from COVID-19, which deemed only brings to attention that inequalities in socioeconomic resources and access to care are the reasons why this is happening. The amount of people who live in a household can be a reason why. The vulnerability to having underlying diseases, because sometimes, for one, they might not know that they have something or they have a disease and they might just go about their day because they just don't have time to worry about themselves. They have too many things going on. And because the lack of medical attention, the lack of money to pay for insurance, they cannot afford healthy food, so they have to go with the cheaper food. Another ECC database article, The School Opportunity Hoardings, Racial Segregation, Access to High Growth Schools by Paul Hausman and Jeremy E. Fowle, both well-accredited sociologists. Persistent school segregation may allow advantaged groups to hoard educational opportunities and co-sign minority students in lower quality educational experiences. This goes on to talk about that not having the privilege to the best education can sometimes make someone feel out of place when they do try to seek higher education, especially someone of low income. And because they feel discouraged, they don't see people who look like them. That is a reason why they don't pursue education. Some schools don't have the funding to be able to teach and get the better teachers for their students, so they have to go with the next big thing or the next best, and that's what ends up leading these students to the lower quality education. Realizing and accepting that there indeed is a systematic racism in America today and that Black people are the ones who are being affected the most is the first solution that we can do today. It takes knowledge and understanding to know that a change needs to be made. We need to support the Black Lives Matter movement because of the systematic racism that is affecting so many Black people, and they have fallen victims of these inequalities. If and when we all support Black Lives Matter, we will give in and open our minds to the change that we need. Then and only then will the segregation, bias, and unfair treatment be minimized. In 2020, after the death of George Floyd at the hands of a police officer, people have grown tired, and it has shown over time the frustration that as parents, people have become tired of turning on TVs and social medias and seeing a father, a son, and a friend die. In the BBC News article, George Floyd Death, Why U.S. Protests Are So Powerful at This Time, by Haylor Chung, she writes, Many demonstrators are calling for specific changes, including making it mandatory for police officers to wear body cameras, reducing funding for police officers, and encouraging more people to vote. This is why it has become so important for all these people to protest, because there's more people laid off from work, not working right now. So this is the time that they have had the chance to do it. In the 2015 article, All Lives Matter versus Black Lives Matter, published on the EBSCO host by Gordon Moreno, talks about the importance of speaking out against racism. And the first step to ending racism is accepting that Black lives are indeed in danger. Because you're not prayerfully intimating that all lives matter is an oblique way of muting the hard truths of the civil rights leaders who have fought so hard for the civil rights of African Americans. In a way, you're dismissing the special burdens of African Americans, that they have endured bias, hardening, and the American harrowing in the machine of the American justice. Racism ended, people might say racism ended in the 1900s. Actually, no, they didn't. City schools and education are still being segregated at the moment. It's run by the color of your skin. People might say that they have a choice to leave. They have a choice to where they live, to the education, but that's not true, because sometimes money plays a factor. It's obviously going to be more expensive to live in a higher end place. Imagine being Black in a low income neighborhood, where you have to be worried about if your child would come home, or getting confused with someone else and being harassed. Imagine not telling your child you love him and being afraid that maybe you should have told him that. Imagine a life where your child will most likely not receive the education that they need. And then imagine in America, where the minority group in America, and raising your kids with hope. Imagine in America where everyone has equal opportunities when it comes to education, health, and the pursuit of happiness. Imagine in America where African American child will not feel that there's a target behind their back, where a parent will not have to teach their child and prepare their child of how to act in the presence of an officer, or not to reach into their pocket, or then that will have the opportunity to higher education, not just because of the color of their skin. Today, we can write letters and call on our Congress leaders and local officials, demand bills, laws, and protect the rights of Black people and everyone in our communities. Follow the Black Lives Matter movement closely, and support it, understand, and get educated. Attend protests and be part of the action. Today, Black Lives Matter. Black lives depend on us. We are the change that we need to see, and in order for us to say that all lives matter, we must first recognize the importance of the Black Lives Matter movement, because Black lives are indeed in danger.